All right, so let's move to consent agenda. Do I have a motion on this, please?
Resolved that the Board of Education, Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois hereby takes the following action on the listed consent agenda items. Approves payment of the bills as presented and listed in section Roman numeral 9A of the June 10, 2014 Board Agenda Packet, and B, approves minutes from the meetings held on May 13 and 27, 2014, open and closed, as presented and amended in the June 10, 2014 Board Agenda Packet. C, approves payment of the Illinois Association of School Board membership dues for the 2014-2015 school year in the amount of $6,669.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ed Jepson. Let's start with bills. Tim, you had
Yes,
questions?
there were some questions on the bills. On page 99, there was payment to Blue Cap. The question was regarding the amount of it. It was $4,500. This was transportation for 3 students for 20 days, primarily during the month of May. One of those students goes to Bolingbrook. The charges are between $50 and $68 one way on the transportation.
Okay.
Do we have no other choices? I mean, we spend $225 a day transporting 3 students. I mean, it just,
Well, when
It's the
you're
if they're
transporting-
if they're a therapeutic placement or an outside placement,
Yeah.
it's wherever the IEP team can find, and then we're required to do the transportation there.
and we did that for like the whole year then?
Yes.
So for 3 students, we spent, for 10 months, $45,000 on cab fares for them? And there's not a, I mean, it seems like you can hire a chauffeur for that kind of money. Or a bus.
Well, but you have one student who's going to Bolingbrook, you have another student who's going somewhere else.
Right, so we don't
Really-
they don't share the same cab.
It's not-
It's 3 different cabs.
Okay.
Okay.
And those are transportation expenses that we submit to the state for reimbursement. Now, the reimbursements are dropping,
Yeah.
but we do get some of that money back from the state.
All right, Tim, what other ones?
There was a question on page 103. There was a payment to Ruth Kraus. She's a PhD. She's a clinical psychologist. She was brought in to do an evaluation on an emotionally disturbed student that we did feel that our school psychologist could do the evaluation. There was a question on page 104, Pro-Touch nurses. That was time that our nurse was out during the month of April. It's about 63 and a half hours that we brought in substitute nurses. On the same page, there was a question regarding the registration fees. We had a payment to Riverside Brookfield, $14,771. That's the transfer that I talked about last month, where we have the money that we've put into the registration fees. Now we're taking it out of the registration fees. We're putting it into the other board accounts and activity accounts.
Okay.
On page 105, there was a question regarding Sonia Shackman, school tuition room and board. That was for one of our special ed students that
What's an
turned.
orthogenic school? That's a new one. I don't remember, isn't it? Did we have that one
This is
before?
this is a new school.
Okay, so what's
I
the
emailed you
school?
about that this week, Tim.
Oh, you did?
We're
I'm
good. So
sorry.
that, what happens is sometimes when we have a student in one of our feeder schools, then sometimes what happens is when they turn 15, we have to start paying those bills. So we had 3 or 4
Sorry.
students this year that are from our feeder schools, one or 2 or 3 from 96 and 1 from 94. But we have when they get to a certain age, then the state automatically starts to bill us, and we have to reimburse the schools.
Okay, Tim.
On page 119, there was a question regarding a payment to Harry Bond for varsity boys basketball summer shootout. This is money that's paid out of a board account because that's the only way we can track the amount paid to people, so that we can give them a 1099 at the end of the year. The activity account where this is going to go out of actually reimburses the board account. In fact. And that was all the questions on the bills.
Okay. Any other questions on the bills? All right, let's go to minutes. Any
have a-
questions on the minutes?
I have a general question on the minutes, and it's a question of our practice versus our duty. We ask citizens when they're coming up, tell us your name and your address, but some of them don't say it, so you can even hear it on the tape. I'm sure you checked, Mary Ann, because I did. And we also ask people to sign in. So do we have a responsibility to actually make sure we have should we ask the people speaking to the mic and spell their name if we want to have it for the record, or do we just, if they get it, fine, and if we don't get it, fine, and if they sign in, fine, and they don't sign in, fine? I mean, I'm looking at you, Mary Ann, but I'm really asking Kevin the question.
We did the best we could trying to recover. We went to the
No,
tapes a couple times.
I listened to myself, I could not understand what
I would
a
say at
couple
some
people
point
said.
when we stop them at the 3 minutes before they step down, if Mary Ann needs a clarification, we allow her to just raise her hand so we can ask for clarification.
Okay.
Does that work for you, Mary Ann?
I mean, the question is, do we want to get it, do we want to get an accurate record? We list who's here, we list who talks, but sometimes we don't have them all, and sometimes we didn't understand what they said. So
Do we have an obligation?
That's what, I don't know if we have an obligation, but if we have the practice, just saying, should we try to be a little more diligent in getting it correct?
Other schools will take the list and bring it up to the secretary at the time of the comment,
Mhm.
so that the secretary has the list right next to her when they come, and she can just map it.
And your concern with that was this morning when we talked about that was legibility.
Right. Even the printing, I have a hard time reading sometimes.
Well, we could ask at that point, but if it was printed where you could read it, then we wouldn't have to ask. But when the person came up, if we couldn't read the writing, we could say, can you please spell your name?
Mary Ann, whichever works for you, please let us know.
Thank you.
All right.
I think we will work on clarification and seeing if we can match it up with the
And I ask the
list.
same questions, Ed. I assume we don't have an absolute duty to try to get it right, or people would have had a system in place before.
Okay, any other questions on minutes? All right, let's go to IASB annual dues. Any questions on that?
This is a formality for the Illinois Association of School Boards, the invoice.
Do we take advantage of any of these programs? Do we get any benefit?
The board attends the III conference and some of the dinners, which you still pay to attend.
Right.
You have some voice in regards to resolutions and in regards to having the IASB advocate for the school boards. And
So they're still gonna do that whether we're a member or not.
But don't we need the membership to do press packet and everything?
yes, we are.
So that's
a
the
member
one
of
area
press
that we're taking the
policy
press
services,
package.
right?
Okay.
And advocacy.
But we pay separately.
But
for
we
that.
pay for that, right?
Correct.
So if we were not a member, would we be
You
able
gotta
to?
be a member to get that,
take it,
even
right?
though you pay extra.
Right, right. So everything we were taking advantage of, we have to pay anyways.
Yes, sir. All right, any other questions on this? Seeing none, Mary Ann, you want to go for a vote?
Mr. Gritchen?
Yes.
Ms. Ruska?
Yes.
Mr. Jepson?
Yes.
Dr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Cindy?
Yes, all right.